Welcome back to another Workshop Wednesday. Today we're going to be fitting an interrupter lever to this Cannondale road bike. It's this little baby brake lever that goes on top of the handlebar. It means you can operate your brakes like this, so I'll show you how it's done. So the reason we're doing this is the customer is, she's struggling with a bit of old age sort of thing, arthritis and whatnot, so she's struggling to get down to the drops. But she really wants to keep riding this bike, so the idea really is to fit some interrupter brake levers onto the handlebar here, so when need be she can just rest on the flats here and still be able to ride the drop bars, rather than going to a full flat bar conversion or anything, because she really likes the bike, but she's just struggling with the braking these days. So we're going to fit these to this and keep her on the bike, so let's crack on. We're also going to change the bar tape on this. It's not essential when you're doing this, but it's going to make it a lot easier because there's some big tears in it anyway and it's pretty much worn out here, so it's a good time to change the bar tape at the same time as doing this. But it's not essential. Here's the brake cable here, so all we're doing basically is chopping that in half, putting the lever in there. The rear one's going to be a bit more challenging because it's been taped underneath the bar, so like I say, we're taking this off anyway so we can just spin it around a little bit to where it needs to be. So first of all, we are going to take this bar tape off. You can see it's had a few tumbles, so there's a lot of damage to this bit. Same on the other side, so it's a good time to get this changed at the same time as doing that. So we're just going to cut this off. Yeah, so just take this end plug out first, a 3mm. This is the original Cannondale one, so we'll try and keep this one back on because it's quite nice and white. I'll just pull out, fold your hoods back, and just cut the tape off. Just remove this finishing tape at the end, or insulating tape, whatever you've got. Don't cut the bar, we're flicking upwards away from the bar. It should just come off like that. And then just unwrap and hope it doesn't end up in 1,000 bits of foam that take a week to clean off. It's nothing worse. It's coming off nicely. Sometimes you end up with this tearing and just strips of foam. Oh my god, it literally takes hours to get it off. There are some chemicals that can help dissolve it, but they're pretty nasty. Got a little filler in here as well. So if you saw the video on the older Cannondale Aero, the orange road bike, this is the same customer. Different bike obviously, but same customer. I spoke too soon, it's starting to break into bits. There we go. And we'll just repeat the same on the other side. So that's all off now. So this cable here we do need to move around a bit. This is the rear brake cable. Cut these pieces of tape here. We'll leave the cable loose for now until we've finished, and then we can get the levers on. These are ZTTO levers, AliExpress. I'll put a link below anyway. But they're basic, simple interrupter lever. There's nothing special about them. These are a 31.6, which is for the fatter part here. They do them in another size as well if you've got a slimmer bar. But they're great little levers. They also come with new inner cables as well. Not essential, but it's just going to make life easier if we just drop these in. And it's always good to refresh your brake cables, nice and smooth. So that's the first thing we'll do, is just disconnect these brake cables here. If you are trying to reuse the old ones, just cut this off as short as you can so you're not losing too much cable under your pinch bolt. It's pretty straightforward stuff, this is. This is a UK bike, so the front brake is on the right hand side of the bike. There is a bit of corrosion on these cables anyway, so we're okay. We'll change them. I'll just disconnect the rear one, the same. It's a very easy one, this is, because it's even externally routed cable, so it doesn't get much easier than this one. So that's the rear brake cable there. Get the inner cable out, just pull your lever, and there it is there. And that'll just pull straight through. Same on the back. There it is. That's not too bad cable. So if your rear brake cable's in good condition, you can actually use that again for the front, because obviously it's long enough. You're just going to chop this off here. The rest of this cable's in good condition. So you can reuse that on the front if you're trying to save a little bit of money, you can do that. We've got new cables, so we'll put them in. So I'm just going to cut these pieces of tape here so the cables are a bit freer. I think this one's okay where it is, but the rear one is, it's just a little bit too underneath the bar. Alright, just cut that tape so you can get some access to it there. And that one there. And then we can put the levers on. So it's just a 4mm bolt. Dead easy this is. Clamp that in there. And put it in roughly where you want it. The only thing you're going to need to look at is how close these cables come out together, because if you get these too close you're not going to have room for the cable. So you just need a little bit of space for these. So just get them roughly where you want them. I'm not going to tighten them up just yet. Make sure you've got an even gap side to side, just for aesthetics really. And get them level. What you don't want with brake levers is you don't want them straight out like sort of here, because it's not ergonomic at all. Your wrist is at a very unnatural angle. You want this to be flowing down in a straight line, so somewhere about here is going to be good. Right, so now what we need to do is cut this outer brake cable. Basically there's a stop inside this lever here. You'll be able to see when you go in there, but it kind of goes to about here. So you want to cut this cable to match that. So that's why we're not tightening these up, because the reason these are sometimes a bit spongy is because you cut this too short and you basically got a gap between there and the stop in there, and the cable's basically just flexing in there. So we need to get this stopped firmly against the inside of the lever. So we'll cut this first, put an end cap on it, and then move this back in so we can feel it's actually engaged properly. We'll cut this off. These are really good quality cutters. These are Hosan cutters. We're going to use this other piece as well. So what you need is a real clean cut here. You can use some little side cutters, or because we've got the bike in the condition it's in, we're just going to cut the rest of this off like this, and we're going to just run this through the grinder just to tidy that end up. Just pull that out of the lever. So the piece on the end where you've cut it, you don't want this piece of metal sticking out. You need this nice and flush, so you can cut this off with a pair of snips. Or if you've got a bench grinder, just run it across the grinder until it's flat. So I'm just going to do that. I'll just cut it off the bike, make it easier at the moment, because there's only a little tiny bit of tape holding it on. So that's what you need it to look like, nice and flush like that. And so if you fit these in a bit spongy, most of the time it's because you've not finished this cable to a high enough standard. So nice and flat like this. And then you need to fit an end onto that as well, like this. Just nip that on very gently with some pliers to stop it falling off. So push this end back into the brake lever. It goes in quite far, it's about sort of 10-15 millimeters there. You'll feel it when it stops. Push that into the lever. Again, you can feel that's got a firm stop on there. And this is going to go underneath the lever, underneath the bar like this, and we can tape that back into place now. So we know that's in the right place. Just tape this back in here where you want it. Just use your insulating tape that you're using for the finishing tape normally, it's fine. A bit across the top here. Keep these cables together underneath the bar where they were. But obviously we're in the right place now for this. So like I say, make sure that's firmly into the lever, which it is. Like that. Good. So we're just going to loosen this off just very slightly and make sure it's very comfortable where it is. I'm pulling that back this way now to make sure this is completely bottomed out in there, which it needs to be. And we can tighten this lever to its final sort of resting position here. Don't need to be crazy tight, just tight enough. Like that sort of thing, that's fine. So that's that one done. Just repeat the same on the other one. So we're just going to take this brake cable off here as well. Like that. Again, measure it up to where you want. You've got, so your gaps are pretty even on the lever itself. So measure this to where you think it's going to be in the lever, which is going to be around about here. Cut that again and finish it on the grinder. Again, back into your lever there and into the new lever there. Make sure you get your end cap on there, and again we'll tape these into position. Keep them together and make sure they match on the other side as well, so it feels better in your hand. Good. Again, we're just going to push this lever back ever so slightly to make sure it's properly seated in there. That's good. And get them level as well. So the only slightly challenging bit is it can be quite tight here with two cables to come out there. Brake cables are pretty flexible, so gear cables are much tighter. So the other end of the cables that we cut off, make sure all those ends are good as well. You can potentially trim these because basically you've extended it by sort of 10 millimeters here, but you can trim 10 mil off if you really want to. That's not too, yeah, it's a little bit long there, so we need to be sort of there really for the front one. So we're going to just trim this off here. Back one, put it into its stop in the frame, and again back up to the lever. That's not too bad. You do need a bit of a curve here, so when you turn in your bars it doesn't basically pull the cable too much. So they'll fit in there like that basically. Alright, so that's trimmed, end caps on both ends, and you can just refit this now. It's ready to run a cable through it. Also, it does get a bit tight in here sometimes, but you'll get enough. So just end cap on there, there's already one on this one. And that just goes to the frame, and around to this lever. People ask if you can use these on cable-operated disc brakes. I've never tried it, but I honestly can't see why not. If I do get a suitable candidate through the workshop, I will try it for you, just to confirm, but I don't see why not. Cable pull ratios sometimes can be slightly different though on brakes, so potentially you might have a lot of travel here before it does anything. Right, so we can run a cable through this now. So just drop this back through the lever and it should find its way through to the other side. It can be a bit tricky. There you go, it's gone straight through. And that's straight through to the caliper now, so just keep pulling that through there. Good. That's seated there, and that's pulling there. Fantastic. Just pull the cable, and you can feel that feels really good now. So we just need to connect that to the caliper. So on the caliper, make sure this gear cable is in the right place. That's not in the right place there. You don't want it between there and there, you want it on the other side of this brake cable. So we'll just pull this back out for a second. And this gear cable needs to go inside there. Like that. Pull this back through. There is an end cap, it's already in the lever. End caps fell off, but it's in there, it's still on there. Right, so then we can pull this through to the caliper. Like that. Pinch the caliper onto the rim like that, pull the cable through, and then just let go of your fingers, finger and thumb, a couple of millimeters. You just want a little bit of slack in here, otherwise it's going to be pretty much locked on. And then just nip this up gently for now. Don't go crazy, just nip it up like that gently. And then we need to try the levers. We'll try the old drop bar lever, works perfectly, and we'll try the interrupter lever. Also works perfectly. Beautiful. Perfect. Cut this cable, I'll leave about 40 millimeters around about, like that. Put a cable end cap on there, otherwise it's going to fray. If you're happy with how the lever feels, we'll tighten this up. You don't want this coming loose, so just nip it back up firmly. Right, so that feels perfect. Right, so that's drop bar, exactly the same as it was, and that's the interrupter lever there. Feels great. It's moving this one at the moment because there's no cable in there, but once that's all connected up, that will stay where it is. But like I say, they do get a bit tight in here, so you just got to leave a bit of space if you can. But obviously you've got to be able to get your bar tape on. Potentially these might want to come out a couple of millimeters, but it's not the end of the world. We can move that if need be. So we'll just connect the other side. Yeah, so I'm just going to spread these out a tiny bit more, just a little bit too close there for comfort really. So I'm just going to pull these out. You've got enough flex in the cable, we're only a couple of millimeters, we'll want to move it. So we'll just loosen that off and push it over a little bit. Like that. It's just literally a couple of millimeters. If you need more, you can obviously trim the cable a bit more. Just going to put the back brake cable through now as well. So this is a UK bike, so we are opposite to everybody else. It can be a bit fiddly to get it through here because you see the angle it's going through. Once it gets started, you're fine. Just keep this straight while you're trying to get that cable through, otherwise it's a bit tight. And that's in there. And then it will go through the rest of it like that. Oops. If that falls off, don't worry about it. Just connect it back on. That's it in. And just put this piece back in. And we're just running this cable to the caliper. So there's some little donuts on the cable. Just stops it rattling on the frame, so we'll just refit these. Really not convinced how much difference they make, but they're on there. So back through this cable housing. Like that. Just check your lever. Feels good. And then we'll just reconnect this. So just connect that up again, let it out a little bit of slack, tighten that up where you want it just as a test, and try your levers. So that's the interrupter lever, and that's the main lever, so feels great. Good. Again, about 30-40 millimeters. There you go. Good. Alright, so what you've got to be really careful of is this cables. Make sure these are not brushing against any of the gear cables, because what happens then is it can affect the return of that lever. It can make it a bit saggy because it's rubbing on this cable here. Make sure the cables are not interfering with the brake cables basically, so that's going to sit there and it has a good return. Like I say, if it's fouling slightly on this, you can hang it back a little bit like that. That feels great. Okay, so just tape this back in. I did redo that slightly off camera. I've changed this to a black one here to give it a bit more support. It's a little bit longer. It should be fine with a silver one. Nice. Just pop these back again. So they're basically installed, so what we need to do now is obviously just put some handlebar tape on and we're done. Yeah, that's how you do it. Just get this wrapped up. This is the OG Evkin bar tape from AliExpress again. I'll put a link below again. It's nice tape, very similar to some more premium sort of reptile based bar tapes, shall we say. But it wraps quite nicely. It's fairly durable, sort of water resistant-ish, obviously semi-waterproof sort of cover. Just put that on there, drop these back in. Beautiful. And we'll just trim this off, tape the end up. Alright, I'll just mark a pen on there. Use a bit of a marker pen, it just makes it easy for you to remember where you got to cut it. Not essential, but anything that makes life a bit easier. And just get some tape on this. Nice and tight. It's a bit more tricky when you've got these levers in the way to tape it. A lot more tricky. Right. One side done. I do want to reuse these Cannondale ones because they match the bike obviously and they're in pretty good condition, so let's put these in. There you go. Just tighten your 3mm at the end, hold it in place. Good, nice. So one lever, two levers, feel exactly the same, really nice. Right, I'll just get this other side wrapped up and we are done. Done. So there we go, all done. Pretty straightforward really, to be honest. You just got to be careful where these cables go. If they start to sort of cross over each other, you can end up with a bit of a sticky lever, so just make sure they've got a clear run of the cable, right, and they work exactly the same as these levers. So yeah, super easy. Nice new bar tape on there, ready to go. So hope you found that useful and stay tuned for more. I'm going to try and do a hydraulic version of this as well, because you can get Shimano levers, GRX series levers that intercept a hydraulic signal and use them exactly the same, but they're significantly more expensive. I've never done one before, so it could be a learning curve as well for me. So if I can pick some up at a sensible price, I'll get them fitted to a bike as well. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.